This episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle podcast includes discussions around mental health, emotional well-being, and topics such as depression and suicide. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, please know that you are not alone and help is available right now. In the United States, you can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Free, confidential support is available 24/7. If you are outside of the U.S., please visit findahelpline.com to connect with international hotlines and mental health resources in your country. This conversation is intended for educational and supportive purposes only and should not replace professional medical or mental health advice. Take care of yourself as you listen, pause if you need to, and reach out for help whenever you need it. You matter, and your well-being is of the utmost importance.
My parents showed us a lot of love, but we grew up in public housing. So basically, we were living below the poverty level growing up, which was difficult. I mean, you can imagine with so many children, it's difficult to take care of a family that large. And so I grew up not really knowing what public housing was, but just knowing that my life experience was very different than that of my peers when I would go to school. Like I noticed the difference. But when I was 11, I lost my father to cancer. And that was pretty much the catalyst for this entire journey of self-discovery because I completely became someone different. And as a child, I was very sensitive. So I was aware of the changes, but I just completely disassociated because it was too emotionally intense for me to deal with. And I pretty much poured myself into grades and academics as a way to distract myself from the chaos that was happening at home. And so that was pretty much my journey to where I ended up and getting 4 different degrees, going to Yale and getting all these scholarships. And I was determined to get out of that situation. And that pretty much made me focused.
Welcome to the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle podcast, the place where we trade burnout for balance, hustle for harmony, and start leading our lives with intention. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman, mom of triplet boys, recovering overachiever, caffeine-fueled creator, and firm believer that slowing down is not weakness. It's your ultimate power move. Around here, we get real about the messy middle, that beautiful in-between space where transformation actually happens. Because when we pause long enough to listen, clarity always finds us. Today's guest, Dr. Crystal T. Harrell, is the embodiment of resilience and renewal. Her journey from public housing in Alabama to earning a PhD at Yale University while securing over $670,000 in scholarships is nothing short of extraordinary. She's a best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and mindfulness-based stress reduction instructor who bridges the gap between evidence-based research and deep spiritual growth. Dr. Crystal's story is one of courage, healing, and the unwavering belief that we can all rise above our circumstances to reclaim our true, authentic self. This is your invitation to slow down so you can rise up. Let's get into it. So, Dr. Crystal, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So before we jump into your story, how are you going slow to go fast these days?
This is a perfect topic for this season of my life because I felt like for most of it, I was rushing through a lot of it, a lot of my education. So one of the things that I started doing was practicing a journaling process. And this journaling process helps me get present and in my body. So I do like 3 pages. It's called morning pages. I don't know if you've read the book, The Artist's Way, but it's a practice that the author speaks about. And you do it every morning, 3 pages, not thinking, not trying to make it perfect, just writing. And the only rule is that your hand has to keep moving. And so I do that practice each morning to slow down and to be with my body and to be present with where I am on my journey.
I have not done that yet or read the book, but it is on my
Yeah.
list. So this is
Ah,
just for me to hear because I need to get on this. That's awesome.
yes.
So how long have you been doing the morning pages?
I just started reading the book last week, so for about 6 days, not long, but I would say
Okay.
that first day, so much came up because she mentioned that a lot of the times your subconscious, like, you understand about your subconscious mind being, basically more open, or like it's just your conscious mind is more relaxed in the morning, so you're more susceptible to those things coming out of your subconscious. And a lot of the things that come out are mostly negative. They're mostly things that our conscious mind tries to suppress or repress. And when you're writing that early in the morning, like literally first thing when you get up, everything just kind of comes up. So what came up the first day was just personally, I guess, just like my focus on everything being perfect and not wanting to make a mistake. And I didn't know that that was so deep rooted because I thought, okay, I'm a perfectionist. I guess no big deal. Many people are, but I didn't know that it was rooted in these subconscious beliefs about not I can't make a mistake, or I am, or something's wrong with me. So it was just like seeing that reflected from that state of doing, like when I was doing the morning pages, was just so refreshing because when you're aware of something, it's easier to make that adjustment, that energetic adjustment. Not that there's anything wrong with us. I mean, we've had life experiences and they've impacted us in ways that we don't always fully understand. So I think just becoming aware is the first step in transforming who you are and getting closer to your authentic self.
Absolutely. I think authenticity starts with
Yes.
self-awareness and
Yes.
figuring out who you are.
Yes. Because it's a buzzword now. Like people are like, oh, be authentic. But I'm like, you can be authentic to a false sense of self because I've done that for years. So
Mhm.
you have to know who you are at your core. Yeah.
Mhm. For sure. Okay. I love that you are doing morning pages. So that's
Yeah.
just the universe saying, "Have you thought about?" So thank
Yeah.
you.
Of course. See, we
Yeah.
never know why we're saying or sharing certain stories.
Mm-mm. No, we don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are a fellow Virginian or
Yeah.
have, living in Virginia right now. You have an extensive background and a journey that I want to dive into. So where would you like to start sharing your story?
I'll try to make it as short as possible for the sake of your viewers. But I grew up in rural Alabama, so I'm one of 10. Both my parents were ministers in the church. So I grew up going to church 7 days a week. Felt like we were always in church. And I'm the seventh born child out of 10 children. So my mom had 7 girls and 3 boys. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Home Alone, but basically his whole life, like that whole movie, it was his cousins mostly, but like that was just my household every day, all the time. So people coming in the shower, jumping in the shower before you, like the cold water thing, like people wearing your clothes, like it was just my life. And I thought it was normal until I would tell people, hey, I have, 9 siblings, and they would just look shocked. And I'm like, don't you have this many? So it was interesting growing up. My parents showed us a lot of love, but we grew up in public housing. So basically, we were living below the poverty level growing up, which was difficult. I mean, you can imagine with so many children, it's difficult to take care of a family that large. And so I grew up not really knowing what public housing was, but just knowing that my life experience was very different than that of my peers when I would go to school. Like I noticed the difference. But when I was 11, I lost my father to cancer, and that was pretty much the catalyst for this entire journey of self-discovery because I completely became someone different. And as a child, I was very sensitive, so I was aware of the changes, but I just completely disassociated because it was too emotionally intense for me to deal with. And I pretty much poured myself into grades and academics as a way to distract myself from the chaos that was happening at home. And so that was pretty much my journey to where I ended up and, getting 4 different degrees, going to Yale and getting all these scholarships. And I was determined to get out of that situation. And that pretty much made me focused.
I love this path that and you're unfolding your story. You're coming from a rural Alabama background,
Mhm.
large family, adversity, but it sounds like you also had a loving home.
Yeah, my dad, like, I know everyone says their parents are the greatest, but no, my dad was truly amazing. Like, he would tuck us in every night. Like, I didn't even know that was like, like my dad would tuck us in. He would say the Lord's Prayer with us. He would kiss us goodnight. He would take us to the park, to the library. That's why I fell in love with reading and books because of him. Because when he would take us to the library, I guess just to get us out of the house, I would run to the art section because I wanted to be an artist. And I found this big book by Norman Rockwell. It had all his portraits in it. And I would just leaf through the pages and just be so amazed that he could use colors to create something that looked so real. And I was like, I knew at the age of 6, I was like, I want to be an artist and I want to create art that makes people feel the same way that I feel when I'm looking at this. Like I wanted to create art with life in it. And it was through that experience, like having my dad kind of put us in environments where we were exposed really to different information. And I never realized that until having this conversation with you now. But yeah, he was very intelligent. He just never went to college, but he was always reading. He had 2 bookshelves like this one stacked up against each other. He is a genius to me.
And I'm a big believer that you don't have to, although I know it's very important, you
Yeah,
don't have to have a college degree
I agree.
to, right, to continue learning, to do great things in the world, to
Yes.
build an amazing family, right? But it definitely helps. It
Mhm.
helps if you can reach your dreams and
Yes.
fulfill your dreams. And degrees tend to help us with that, at least get us in the door to
Yes.
whatever's next. But it's just, I hear so many stories about people who have made amazing things happen in their life and they didn't have a
They
degree
didn't.
because they worked hard.
Yes.
They found something that they were good at and they learned all about everything they could about it. And I think
Yes.
there may have even been, it sounds like he had an emotional IQ that was
Mhm.
pretty high too.
Yeah. Some of the things my dad used to say, like, I hear it as an adult and I'm like, "How the heck?" Because I mean, as a child, if you're hearing someone say, "Attitude is latitude," I'm like, "What the heck does that mean?" Or, "Be careful how you speak about yourself." Like, all these other things, like, I thought he was just like strange because I'm like, he says some things that I don't really understand. So it's just like now as an adult, I'm like, man, like he's right. Like how you look at life really does determine how far you go. Or it's important to speak with yourself with a level of kindness and a level of like just like emotional awareness as well. So he was very emotionally intelligent. I didn't recognize it then, but I definitely see it now. Yeah.
Well, and he will here with you all the time. Like
Yeah.
you're bringing up all these memories of things he would say and do. There were 10 of you. And
Yeah.
if, he obviously had, I mean, if you go through life as a parent and have children, you're going to have times where you feel like you just haven't done your best. But it sounds like to me that he was able to touch your life and all your siblings' lives in so many
Yes.
ways. So it's amazing. So now, what was next? After he laid that foundation, what else would you like to share about your journey?
Yeah, I guess like because of that foundation that was laid out, by him, through his love for education as well. And I agree with you. You definitely don't need a college degree. I believe that education is very important, but how you get that education has to be in alignment with what you feel is best for you. And so my dad was one of those people where I just told him, I was like, I wanted to go to college, but I didn't know how that was going to happen, honestly. So after he passed away, I kind of, like I said, threw myself into my education because I started to notice really that the better I did in school, basically the more opportunities presented themselves to me. And I was just like, okay, well, if all I have to do is like, show up, study, do well, and I get these opportunities, in school, then like, okay, I would love to like getting into different clubs, like the math club, like that was exciting to me. Like I loved being in the community with people who were nerds like me. So it was just like really cool to have that experience just because I loved education. I loved learning. And I had this natural curiosity that my dad really nurtured when he was alive. So by the time I got to high school, I started learning about something called scholarships, which was like free money to go to school. And I knew that college was my number one choice. And I had, people telling me that I was basically delusional because it's like, look at your family situation. I had people, reflecting that back to me. And that was hard, but I just had a vision. Like I already saw myself in the classroom. I already saw myself at Auburn University, in classes like that. I had to try. And I knew that if I didn't apply for these scholarships, then I wouldn't get any. So I just threw myself into it. I went to the same library that my dad used to take us to because we didn't have internet at home. And I used their computers and their Wi Fi. day. And I applied for scholarships after scholarship after scholarship because I was getting rejected during this time. But by the time I graduated, I ended up getting five and having over $670,000 in funding. So I didn't pay for a single degree that I obtained, and ended up graduating last May with my doctorate from Yale School of Public Health. It's amazing to see how things kinda come together, but following that vision and education, going to college changed my life because it opened me up to resources again, opportunities like going to therapy, figuring out that I was dealing with panic attacks and anxiety and suffering from, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, there was a lot of things happening in my body that being in college exposed me to the information and the resources I needed to work through that. It was a healing experience for me. It was difficult at certain points, but it was a healing experience. And now I'm in Virginia doing work as a medical operations officer and learning all that I can truly, because my next step is truly stepping out as a businesswoman and truly like throwing myself into my companies and my passion for helping students and helping people experience better health in their lives.
There's so many things I want to unpack here, but we
Yeah.
don't have enough time. Well, what I would like to focus on is, we've already laid the foundation that you had an amazing father
Yeah.
who set you up for success with just the love and
Yeah.
love for learning, love for family. And
Yes.
he gave you that tenacity and that resilience and that emotional intelligence, not only intellectual achievement and drive, but you had all that going for you. Then you just persevered. Even when people told you you might not be able to get all the things that you were able to attain. So when you got to, like, when you were in high school,
Mm.
did you have anybody that was cheering you on, or did you just know what you were going to do and you persevered, you filled out all the forms and you kept going?
My high school principal.
Okay.
She would spend hours after school helping me with I had to write 9 essays for the Bill Gates and Melinda Scholarship, and I wrote everything, and after school, she would sit down with me, and she would help me with the storytelling piece. So I had this story of, everything I just, explained about how we grew up and losing my father and how that affected our family financially, and basically was the reason I could not go to school. I mean, so many other reasons, but, like, my mom just could not pay for my education, but I knew that school was my goal, that was my vision. And so she helped me lay out my story. So I had all the pieces. She was just helping me place it together. And she doesn't know this. I try to tell her every time, but I don't think she truly understands how much she changed my life. Like, even talking about it makes me emotional, but like, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have someone like her who just decided to take the initiative and to see me, even with everything stacked against me. She just saw me. She saw my heart. So yeah, I appreciate Miss Parrish.
And I love that you said that you've tried to tell her.
Yeah,
Obviously, you have had conversations. You probably still have a relationship with
I
her in
do.
some manner. That's awesome. Good for you. And there's so many people who want to help students
Yeah,
in education. We want to be that light. We want to be that voice, that push. But I think it also has, you know, I'm going to have to put a finer point on this.
yeah,
There has to be a drive
this is
to
true.
get to that next level. And if there isn't that drive, then that's our job in education.
Yes,
We've got to work on getting that drive to show up or to pull it out or to shine light on it, whatever that student or child needs. But I think it's amazing that she saw you and she knew what you needed and
yeah,
she coached you and she worked with you. That's amazing. So Miss Parrish, your mom, your dad, your family, so outside of that circle, what drove you to, like, to the next level of thinking, I'm not going to go and look at my state colleges and this
mm,
and that. I want to go to the Ivy League level. Like,
yeah.
what drove you to go to that
Yeah,
next?
it's so this is a beautiful question because it's everything you just laid out. It was people. And that's why I think that we thrive in community because we need people reflecting back to us our own potential. And truly, the human potential is so great. We can't even begin to imagine what potential we have lying dormant within us. But it was that. It was, again, once I got to the next level, I think it was Rumi who said, as you walk the way appears. So it was always getting to the next step. So I knew from high school I wanted to go to Auburn. At Auburn, I ended up connecting with a mentor, my statistics professor, who saw graduate school for me. And I didn't know what graduate school was. Like I said, I'm first generation. No one in my family had gone to graduate school, had even gone to college, finished college. So it was like I didn't know what I was doing. But he kind of took me under his wing and said, "You have potential for graduate school." Ended up getting into graduate school there, then met with another professor who was an epidemiologist. And I was blown away by his talk. And I knew then, I was like, I don't know what epidemiology is, but this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Now, this was before the pandemic, so I had no idea what we were going to get into, but I was so fascinated with this area of research. And so I ended up going to George Washington to get my master's in epidemiology from that talk. And I had an advisor who, her name was Dr. Magnus. And I was, going to her, I think it was like when I was applying for doctoral programs, and I was telling her about my research. And I was like, I want to do this area of research, but the schools doing this research are very competitive. And I was just laying out all the reasons why I couldn't do it. I was like, I have below average GRE scores, I'm first generation, like all these other things. I was telling her all my, my list of woes. And she let me, speak about this. And then after the conversation, she paused and she was just like, so? And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, I just gave you every reason why I'm not a competitive applicant. And she was just like, you already have so many things stacked against you. You already have so many people trying to count you out. Don't count yourself out. Like, I remember like it was yesterday. Like, I remember that day so vividly because it changed for me. And I was like, yeah, like, why would I not give myself a chance to even apply? Either I get accepted or I don't. So I applied to Yale. I ended up connecting with my advisor at a conference because I was giving a lecture. I was giving a poster presentation on my research from George Washington. He was there. We connected. We were supposed to be a 20-minute meeting. We spoke for like an hour and a half. And by the end of it, he was just like, I could use your passion in my lab. So it was always that. It was always the vision. It was always falling in love with my academic journey and understanding that this is a process. So yeah, that's pretty much how that happened. But if I from high school applying to an Ivy League, absolutely not. That would not have happened.
Well, I think this was something that you were meant to do. But I love that. And so,
Yeah. It was just like that. She was like, "So? Okay."
why not?
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so then you get to Yale
Yeah.
and you take the coursework and you meet different professors.
Yeah.
Where did you go after that?
So yeah, I guess like at Yale, this was during the pandemic, so it
Mm,
was a different time. When I was interviewing, definitely I was like, this is exactly where I was supposed to be. Like I felt it in every
mm,
part of me. It was like, this is exactly where I needed to be. I even found out because I was studying my family history. But at Yale, I had a great great aunt who lived 2 miles down the road from where my apartment was in Connecticut, and I thought, this is like insane because the whole time I was there, I kept feeling like I've been here before. I've been here before. It was a very strange feeling. But at Yale, just this was during the pandemic, so classes were online, but I started studying abroad. So this is when I started going to countries like Bali, Indonesia, because I was studying spirituality and spiritual consciousness. And in that environment, I was exposed to a lot of different expressions of spirituality. And I was learning a lot about health and wellness and how that's connected to our spiritual health. And it was a transformative experience because out of the 11 years I spent in school, the only years where I actually was, in a state of emotional health and wellness was when I was studying abroad at Yale. That was the only time I actually felt good while I was in school. The other times I was dealing with, like I said, panic attacks, anxiety. I was suffering in silence for a very long time. And I was finally able to break that and enjoy. Like when I graduated from Yale, I was so sad. It was bittersweet because I loved being there. I loved my doctoral program. I had a lot of fun. And then when I graduated, I started working as a population health and well-being analyst and in corporate America. And I thought that was a good path for me, but it was not. So I had to make a sharp turn and try something new. But I mean, that's the career process. You're learning about yourself. You're growing, you're evolving, and what you thought you might have wanted, maybe once you try it, it's not what you thought it would be. And I allowed myself to experiment, and I'm still in that phase of experimenting with my career. But now I know for a fact that I have to be my own boss. I have to have that creative freedom. I'm an artist at heart, and I have to be able to move freely and to create freely. And now I know for a fact that's exactly what I want.
and that It just goes back to that moment when you were in the library and you found that
Yeah,
art book by Norman Rockwell, and you
yeah,
said, "That's what I'm gonna do one day. I'm gonna make people feel." That's amazing. So with your spiritual journey and your academic journey, do you feel like there's alignment there now?
absolutely. That's why I now do work helping students succeed, not just academically, but emotionally, because your emotional health is deeply tied to your spiritual health. No, so I try to be very universal in the way I express it. So emotional health is very similar to spiritual health. But the tools that I use in the practices at Yale, I was certified as a mindfulness-based stress reduction instructor. So I bring that aspect of emotional health into my student coaching as well, because a lot of the times when I'm working with students, they have so much anxiety and so much stress about their future, and they're so worried, and I'm just looking at them like I see my younger self in them, and I just want to like hug them. And a lot of the students I work with are super super ambitious, and those just tend to be the type of students I attract. I remind them of their own potential, and I just let them know, look, you don't know what, the possibilities are for you. Like, you have no idea what's available to you. And they always end up getting into their dream school, or getting the scholarship, or getting the publication. And they're like, oh, Dr. Crystal, I did it. And I'm like, I know you did it. Like, it was laid out for you. It's so apparent to me to see their potential, but it's difficult to see the picture when you're in the frame sometimes. So I just help students, like I said, not just succeed academically, but feel also emotionally successful as well, and feel connected to what they do in school. And the only way to know, what you're going to do in school is to truly get a better idea of who you are. And young adults are smarter than we give them credit. Like, they're incredibly intuitive. They know.
They do, and they know, they may not be able to put it into words all
Yes.
the time, but they know when an adult likes them. I've
Yes.
heard kids say that. "So and so doesn't like me. I don't like going to
Yes.
that class. They don't listen to me."
Yes.
Whatever however they're putting that into their own words, it's
Mhm.
something they're picking up on,
Yes.
and so it's good that you also are in tune with that, and you
Yeah.
understand that students, they know. They
Yes.
absolutely know, just like we do.
Yeah.
You probably gravitated towards the teachers and your principal
Yes.
because, they saw your potential and they knew that you were going to go far and they wanted to help you in any way they could. So that's
Yeah.
great.
You can tell the ones who care.
Mhm.
They show up differently. Yeah.
Mhm. They do. They do. They let their light shine and they help others with their gifts.
I love that. That's honestly, it's like that's what I wrote in my journal. You said it exactly the same. That's crazy.
Well, it was meant to be that we have this conversation today after you started your morning pages.
I know. My dad used to get me to sing the song in church called This Little Light of Mine. And that's just been so, so I call like
I love that song. Yeah, my little 5-year-old. So I love that song.
me too. Wow, I love that we connected on that. That's so beautiful to me.
It's a good song.
It
It's a great song.
is, but it's come back up during this era of my life because I know it's kind of strange, but I call the different eras of my life different, titles, I guess is maybe like I said, it's the artist in me. And this
Right?
era is called the artist and a
Mm,
reawakening to my inner creativity.
mm,
And like you said, it's about letting your light shine and about,
yes.
showing up in these areas with our gifts and natural talents and developing those.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and community, in community.
Yeah.
So if we
Yes.
can, because there is a loneliness epidemic, it's happening, it's been happening,
Yes, it has.
definitely since 2020 with COVID made it worse. But with all the social media and everybody on their phones and
Yes.
devices, we've gotta reconnect with ourself. We've gotta be aware of what our gifts are, and then
Mhm.
we've gotta share them to bring people together, right, in love and community and make the world a better place. So I love that you're doing that with your gifts.
Thank you, Kendra. And I'm writing that down because I love that you said developing our gifts in community. Because
Mhm.
I never added that piece, but it's so vital. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it can look different for everybody. It can be, you live out in the middle of nowhere like I do in rural Tennessee, but you're
Yeah.
still doing something to make the world a better place by putting out a podcast or joining a Facebook group or
Mhm.
going to a local art guild. So if your 5-year-old self wanted to be an artist or a dancer or figure out how to make a quilt back in the day, you haven't explored those gifts in a while, this is your sign. You need to get back to whatever gift that brought you joy.
I agree.
I want to lean a little bit into that holistic well being that you
Yeah.
spoke about a little bit. Spirituality and mindfulness, it reshaped your academic life. Can you speak a little bit more into that and what other spiritual practices bring you clarity that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so it's such an important space for sure. And I only started learning about it back in 2018 because like I said, that was the darkest point of my academic journey. I was about to finish my master's at Auburn. So I was studying human development and family studies, and I, told myself that once I get my degree, I'll be happy. And I got my degree and I was not happy. I felt even worse because now I didn't have anything to place my happiness on. And I had to really come face to face with my own shadows. I realized during that time that I was looking at the world through the lens of a traumatized child and not through my authentic self. And it was through that vision of seeing myself as a child full of curiosity, full of wonder, full of excitement. Like I was always smiling as a child. That was like my natural state. I was happy. I was excited to be alive and to be in a world where there was so much that I was learning. And by the time I turned 23, that was not the case. I was having really dark thoughts, not wanting to be alive, like not wanting to continue on my journey. And one day I woke up, it was a Tuesday, and I had this thought, and I thought, man, I wish I didn't wake up. And I saw the thought pass my awareness, and I thought, "What the heck? Like, how could I see that thought? Like, how am I witnessing that thought? That means that thought is not me. That means that thought is separate from my awareness, which means I am not that thought. I'm the awareness observing the thought. So who am I? Like, and it was that kind of line of questioning that really got me to look at a more holistic state of being because I started to see like, oh, I'm a lot more than my thoughts. And that's when I started learning about the three principles, about innate health, about Dr. Bruce Lipton and his work with epigenetics, and Dr. Joe Dispenza, his book Becoming Supernatural. And I got into this whole kind of field of like metaphysics and spirituality. And that gave me the clarity that I needed to continue on my path of healing. So it's been 7 years. And I mentioned, having panic attacks and anxiety. I haven't had panic attack in like 4 years. 4.5 years, I used to have them back to back, especially when I was in class. Anxiety no longer lives in my body. Like my nervous system has just truly been healed and recalibrated. And, it's a process. You never stop becoming more of who you are. You never stop evolving. But I definitely can say that I'm not the same person that I was at 23. I no longer have those thoughts about, not wanting to be here or, suffering or seeing life through the lens of a traumatized child. It was a different experience, and there were so many practices that I, tried, like I said, journaling, meditation, walking meditation, sitting meditation, getting coaches, but truly it's a process of exploring and seeing what works, like testing out different things and seeing what resonates with you. So journaling may not resonate with you, but maybe meditation does, or meditation may not work out for you or may not, resonate with you, but maybe a different form of meditation that you haven't explored. There's so many forms of meditation and mindfulness that you could use. So it's just that process of getting to know, who am I and what is going to help me. Anything that brings clarity or calmness is what helps you.
Yes. And you may have to try a few things
Yes,
and fail before you find what works for you.
this is true.
hmm Yeah. I try to sit and meditate. And I've
Yeah.
learned if I don't move first, like I can't just get up and start meditating. I have to do some yoga,
Yeah.
walk my dog. I have to move to get my energy cleared.
Hmm.
Then I have a better chance of sitting still for a longer period of time. But I
Yeah.
still get that crazy busy mind. Like you said, there are thoughts that come through and you're like, "Whoa, is that mine? I don't know what that is." It could be just that stream of consciousness that comes through. Yeah. I mean, everybody's going to have to figure out as they're listening to this, Something might work for you. If you haven't tried something that has been mentioned by either Dr. Crystal or myself, try it. See what you think. Journaling might not be your thing, but maybe meditation, maybe yoga, maybe listening to a podcast.
Yes.
There are lots of free resources out there, even meditations that other people do. The Calm app is just one example.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
walking meditation is my favorite because I'm like you.
Hmm.
In a sense, where sitting still sometimes is just like, I can't do this. There's too many crazy thoughts that are just coming, through my stream of awareness.
Hmm.
So I go on walking meditations where I become aware of the nature around me. I don't listen to music or talk on the phone. I'm aware. I'm allowing my environment to simply come into my awareness as I'm walking. I forget the author of the book, but The Body Keeps Score or Keeps the Score. They talk about that EDMR, I believe, where it's like lateral eye movement. And that's a part of walking meditation where your eyes are just moving, back and forth. So I find walking meditation actually more beneficial for me versus sitting meditation. But I've been trying to incorporate sitting meditation more frequently with my coach because that's something he does. So I'm just like, okay, let's quiet this monkey mind, but it's difficult sometimes.
Yes. And I think with my journey of being in education, and, if anybody out there listening is either a teacher or a principal or administrator, you've worked in education or you've been a student, there's a lot of energy in school buildings and there's a lot of people coming and going. So they're all dealing with their own things. And so I would have a hard time not absorbing that or taking that in. And so I had to really work on protecting myself when I was in school buildings and then not taking on other people's stuff. But like you, I think I've recently been able to heal. I've been out of schools probably about 5 months now, and I feel like I'm clearing that energy out and I'm able to be more focused and more present and help the world in a different way, stepping away from being in education. I'm still teaching. It's just in a different way. But, I think that people just need to be thinking, be more self aware and what works for you. So, if whatever position you're in right now where you earn money, and if you're not happy, like, you said, Crystal, you received a degree and you thought you would be happy after that, and it didn't happen. I thought being a principal would make me happy. It just, it was fulfilling and at times, but, that position, that job, role has changed over the last 10 years and it's very different than what it used to be. And so it's just not something that made me happy anymore. And I needed to move on and be more present for my children. So whatever you're going through and realizing that what you thought was going to bring you happiness and then you attain it and it doesn't, don't beat yourself up about it, right? It's just something you've got to, you know, realize, wow, that was a goal and I met it. And now I need to make new goals.
Yes. I love that you're bringing this up because this is literally everything that's been coming up in my journaling. It's definitely
Yes.
not an accident that we connected.
Okay. Yeah. So talk to me more about that. So once you realize that you've hit a milestone or a goal, and then it's just not, you know, bringing you all the feels that you thought it would, what do you do next? How do you pivot?
This question. I'm going to try to articulate it in the best way I can because it's definitely an internal process. It's an internal pivot more so than it is before it becomes a physical one. But like you said, it's first just becoming aware, like, okay, I met this goal and I appreciate the goal for what it taught me. And it's about who you become in the process of obtaining that goal more so than the goal itself. I know it sounds so cliche to say it's more about the journey. It's not the destination, it's the journey, but it's so true. It took me so many years to really embody that saying and the frequency of that saying, but it's true. It's about who you become along the way. And so for me, like you said, it was about, getting my first degree, my first graduate degree and not fully being fulfilled. But, once I graduated from Yale, I recognized there was a different layer to that level of fulfillment. And it came from the internal process. So now I more so focus on the internal success of like, okay, how does my nervous system feel in this environment? Like, do I feel more confident in the way I'm showing up? Like, it's difficult to post about these achievements, so to speak, these internal shifts. But once you know it, it kind of radiates. And so like the inner work that you do, radiates through every layer and every level of your life. And I feel like it kind of just like turns up the heat a bit on all these external goals that we set for ourselves. So it's a process for sure. and it's a scary one because there's no blueprint. But Maxwell Maltz, I believe his book is Psycho-Cybernetics. He talks about this internal guidance system that we have, and how if you look at a missile, it's and when it zigs like this and zigzags like this, it's course correcting along the way. And he compared that to the human internal guidance system, how we're constantly course correcting. So I don't even call it mistakes. Like, I make decisions and maybe it doesn't turn out the way I thought, but now I have the opportunity to course correct and to eventually get to the vision that I have for my life. Because we all have visions, we all have dreams that we want to achieve, and no one knows what that dream is but us. No one knows our potential for reaching it but us. But I feel that if we were given a dream or a vision for the way our life should feel to us, then we have all the capability that we need to pursue that vision of becoming. And no dream is impossible. I don't believe that a dream is impossible, at least. So that's why I'm always encouraging students. But it's definitely a process. It's an ongoing process. Like, graduating was one goal, and now you dream new dreams. And I take it back to the Disney movie Rapunzel, because that was something that came, or Tangled, I guess it's called now. And he asked her, like, now that you have your dream of seeing these lights, what is your goal now? And she said, dream new dreams. And it was just like that. It's so, that's been coming up for me a lot. So that's why I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's true. It's dreaming new dreams. It's allowing ourselves to continue to grow and evolve and become a new person as we pursue these new dreams. I love that.
Yes, it's such a full circle moment if you think about it. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I have this vision. I think about like major entrepreneurs that are out there doing great things. And you kind of look at their life and you say, well, they were this and now they're
Mm,
doing that. Well, why not? Like, why not? And why not us? Why not, because if they're making the world a better place and they're doing amazing things, it doesn't mean that they're an MBA star and then when they retire, that's it, they're done. You want them to do great work in the world because they have a platform to do that. So why can't we take our platform and make the world a better place? It could be in our small town,
mm.
wherever we are in America or any part of the world. Just use your light, right? Take your gifts and make that platform what it can be. And ask yourself why not when you start questioning whether or not you can attain that next goal.
This is true, because those people doing those things are no different from us. They started off exactly where we were, where we are. They believe in the vision so much. They believe in themselves, and they don't
Hmm.
stop. They're just doing the same things until it gets them results that they want. So yeah, I agree. But it's funny
Hmm.
that you bring up entrepreneurs, because I feel like they're considered the most delusional people until they do the thing that they're going to do. So I
Yeah.
always encourage people, like, if you feel like people are calling you delusional, then that's a good sign.
Hmm. Yeah. Because
That
you've got
means
a
you've
vision
yeah.
and maybe no one else can see it right now, but that's okay. As long as you keep your eye on that vision and
Yes.
that target.
Yes.
Yeah. And meet that goal and then make new goals.
I love the way you
Yeah.
speak about this. This is amazing.
Well, and you're the inspiration to this conversation. It's amazing that you've done so much, you've accomplished so much in your time on the planet. So what's next for Dr. Crystal?
I still have this vision of speaking and sharing my story on larger platforms and being able to be a light for young adults and youth, because I resonate with, like, I just have a soft spot in my heart for them because of everything I experienced, and knowing that no one knew what I was going through. And I believe that there's still youth out there who are suffering in silence, especially the really, really ambitious ones. They know who I'm talking to, the ones that pretend like they have everything figured out and they just really want to be held, or they just really want someone to tell them, like, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, I believe in you. And there's a lot of students, there's a lot of young adults, even if they're not in school, they just they just need a safe space to feel like they're not crazy, and to feel like their dreams are possible, and that, like I said, they're intuitive enough to know what they want, even if they don't know how to articulate it yet. And so I just want to be a safe space for those students and for those youth who have dreams of achieving these things in their community and for themselves.
Yeah. And it doesn't, like we said, it doesn't have to be a higher degree. If
Yeah.
you can get out into the workforce as soon as you leave high school, that's amazing too. It's just
Yeah.
whatever your dreams are,
Yeah.
And we're speaking to students right now. We're speaking to adults who may not be happy in their job and they thought this is where they wanted to be and things have changed. It's okay. Just make a new goal and figure out the steps to get there and make it happen, right?
Yeah.
So anything is possible. You have to ask yourself, why not?
Yes, I love that. I mean, because the truth is, Kendra, like no one is coming to save us. No one is coming
Yeah,
to tap us on our shoulder and give us permission to live our dreams. I mean, we
right.
could get to the end of our lives and just be like, wow, I never took a chance on that. Or, oh, I was so afraid of doing this and now I will never know. Like, just try. Just try because we don't have
Mhm.
forever. We really don't.
That's right. So I'm going to put all your information in the show notes to make
Yeah.
sure people know how to contact you. But is there anything that you'd like to say as your final thoughts for the audience?
No, that was my final thoughts. Just try. Take a chance. Like you said, why not?
Yes. Why not? Thank you so much. Ooh, all right, everyone. Like Dr. Crystal and I said many times during this interview, I think we were meant to have this conversation. And as we wrap up today's episode, I invite you to take a deep, grounding breath and settle into that quiet peace within you. After this powerful conversation, I want to remind you to share your light with others because you just never know who might need that spark. And when you find yourself standing at the crossroads, doubting your dreams, remember to ask, why not me? Why not us? You never know what you're truly capable of until you take that next small step. One foot in front of the other, and just keep going. As I always close out this show, remember, the light in me honors the light in you. And as you head into the rest of your week, please share your gifts, your talent, your joy, and your light with everyone around you. Let it shine through. In the small moments, the big decisions, and everything in between. Because that's how we make the world a little brighter, one slow, intentional step at a time. Until next week, keep listening to your inner calm, keep showing up with heart, and remember, go slow to go fast. Thanks for listening.